All right, guys, wholesaling is changing fast across the country. Title companies, they're tightening their policy. States, they're even starting to regulate assignment fees. And buyers, they're getting smarter about how deals are structured. Listen, deals that used to close really easy are suddenly getting questioned or completely blown up at the closing table. And a lot of wholesalers are learning that lesson the hard way. That when assignment fees start getting big, transparency, sometimes it can kill the deal. But the investors who understand double closings, they are still getting paid because when you structure a deal the right way, you can protect your profit, stay compliant with changing laws, and close assignments that simply cannot be hidden. So, one of the big questions that investors are asking is really simple. How do I fund the deal if I'm having to double close? Well, that's exactly what we're breaking down today. Today, joined by my good friend Peter Russell, the owner of Velocity Capital, a lender that helps wholesalers and investors nationwide with transactional funding for double closing, allowing them to fund that A to B purchase and immediately resell that property the same day or even the next day. So if you've ever had a buyer question your assignment fee or a title company that refuses to close your deal, this episode might save your next paycheck. Welcome to the Closers Club, where real investors come to learn the tips, the tricks, the strategies that the most successful people in the industry are actually using to grow their business. This is an episode you want to pay really close attention to. So, Peter, thank you so much for jumping on. Welcome. Let's jump right in. A lot of wholesalers, they hear that term double closing, but a lot of them don't actually understand what it means or when is the right time to use it. So let's start really simple. What exactly is a double closing and how's it different from like just your normal like assignment deal?
Yeah, great to be on, David. Appreciate it. So to make it as simple and easy as possible, right?
Mhm.
Because I like things broken down for me on a third grade level
Or
as
grade level,
well.
right?
Third grade level. Think of it exactly like an assignment,
Okay.
except instead of assigning it over, you still have a seller, you still have an end buyer, you're still that middleman.
Mhm.
But instead of assigning it over and leaving your fee exposed, right? Let's say you got a good deal, you're making 40K on it. On that closing statement with an assignment, everyone's going to be able to see that,
Mhm.
right? Your seller can
Mhm.
see it, your end buyer can see it. So what you're doing is instead of doing one closing, it's literally two closings. That's why it's a double close. You are buying it from your seller and turning
Mhm.
around and selling it to your end buyer on
Okay.
the same day. So it's a double close. That way, your deal with your seller is separate, your deal with your end buyer is separate, and nobody knows how much you're making. You are literally protecting your profits by making it clean and simple with a double
Mhm.
close. How I come in is a lot of investors and wholesalers don't have the capital to
Right.
purchase that deal, right? Especially in some markets, you're talking four or $500,000 for to be able to buy it and turn around and sell it. Or if it's a simple $30,000, $40,000 deal, it's like, why pull money from marketing or pull money from an account or whatever when you have somebody that can step in and just fund it for you? So
Mhm.
I actually provide that capital so you can do the double close and I fund the entire thing. You don't have to bring like 10% down or
Yeah.
20% down. And I'm also not going to ask for a big chunk of your deal. Like I want 15% of whatever you're making. I
Yeah.
have a simple, like straightforward process. My fee is just based off how much I fund.
Mhm.
But a double close, I know it's scary. People are like, oh my God, it's lending. I don't have a good credit
Yeah.
score. I haven't done a lot of deals. It's very simple. You're just buying it, turning around and selling it on the same day.
Wow. Before we get into the mechanics, because I really want to talk about kind of what the process is to work with you. Give us a little background on you. Like, how did you even get into this business?
Yeah. I've been in the game for 10 years now,
Mhm.
which is crazy to think. I started in 2016.
Yeah.
And I found out about wholesaling real estate through Facebook. I
Really?
had somebody here. Yeah, I live in Charlotte, North Carolina. Somebody I went to high school with forever ago was posting about wholesaling deals.
Mhm.
And I was kind of like, this guy's probably full of crap. This seems too good to be true. What's he
Yeah.
talking about? Like, he's not buying it. He's not flipping it. He's not doing what they do on HGTV or
Right.
all the other shows. Like, what is he even talking about? Right. So he kept posting, kept posting. And finally, I hit him up. I was like, hey, man, like,
What are
what
you
are you
doing?
doing? Like, is this real? Like, are you just like BSing? Are you just being stupid? Like, what's going on? He's like, no, it's 100% real. Come to
Mhm.
one of my meetups. I'll talk to you about it. And I went to one probably like a month later. It was in the back of like a steakhouse, and he rented a room and had like 20 people in there, and they're all sitting around this big table. And I just sat down. I was like a fly on the wall, and people were throwing around these crazy numbers. They're like, yeah, I got this deal. I got a buyer for this deal. And so I just sat there and kind of soaked it up and just asked questions. And then I hung out with him afterwards,
Yeah.
and just picked his brain. And I was like, either everybody in this room is in on some big ruse where they're like, oh, gotcha.
It was all for you, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Then somebody comes out behind and they're like, oh, yeah, like with the hidden camera show. But that was my intro. And from there, I was just like, okay, let me try to figure this out. And this was 10 years ago where there was no like done for you lead system. There weren't a lot of CRMs. There weren't a lot of things going on. There weren't a lot of coaches in the space.
Yeah.
So I just YouTube University, fail forward, put out bandit signs, knocked on doors. And about 4 months later, I got my first deal. And that was the holy shit, this is real check. Right?
Yeah.
Like this is legit. So that was my intro to it. Is just somebody kept posting stuff on Facebook, and I finally was like, all right, I'm gonna see if this is real or not.
I love it. So I know you're funding lots of deals every single week from kind of where you're sitting there in Charlotte, right? At
Mhm.
40,000 foot above, all of the deals. Kind of nationwide, what are some of the biggest shifts that you're seeing, in your business and the clients that you're working with right now in wholesaling, right? Especially
Yeah.
with assignments and title companies.
Big thing is a lot of people reach out to me and they're like, Pete, the stuff I used to be able to do to protect my fee, I can't do anymore. Right? Like
Mhm.
a blind HUD. People used to be able to do that where you'd have two separate HUDs.
Yeah.
Can't do that anymore. Pass through funding where they were able to use the end buyer's
Mhm.
funds to
Yeah.
fund their deal. They would do a double close, but they didn't have to bring anything to the
Right.
table. Can't do that anymore. So all these things that used to kind of be available and whatnot, kind of workarounds
Yeah.
without having that assignment fee sitting out there for everybody to see,
Mhm.
those things are just getting phased out for one reason or the other.
Well, a
Right.
lot of it is people don't understand, because we owned a title company in 6 states, is that, the pass-through funding, it's some of the states don't like it. Tennessee doesn't love it. But the
Mhm.
underwriters, First American, Old Republic, WFG, Fidelity, whoever, to them, it just looks like fraud. And they are in
Yeah.
the insurance business and they want to stay arm's length away from anything that looks a little bit hokey.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're saying who I've worked with, especially in Tennessee. Like
Mhm.
I've done closings with this company for years and years. They
Mhm.
just told me, we can no longer do that. So
No,
then
no.
they're kind of getting caught with like, what do I do now? And then they
Mhm.
reach out and then they go back and ask if they can do a double close. And I haven't had one closing company, whether
Mhm.
attorney, whether escrow, title, any of the states nationwide, come back and say, no, we can't do that. Right.
No, they love it because it's 2 sets of fees, right? They're getting that extra
Yeah.
$300 or whatever it is, but that's really a small price to pay, even, a small percentage to you to get those deals closed, right? Because sometimes
Sure.
these are big numbers, and it's just a cost of doing business. I don't want people to think like, "Oh my god, it's costing me $1,000 or whatever it is to get this deal." That's like hiring a plumber or an electrician on your rehab. It's just a
Mhm.
cost of the business because without that, there's no way to get that deal done. And even if you were borrowing hard money at 15%, so you're going to make 27 instead of 33,000. That's okay because the 27 is off the table if you don't have access to the funding. So I think what you're bringing to the market's really important.
100%. Yeah, it is part of it. And it's that protection. Like you said, would you rather walk away with a few $1,000s less, but then you still have that big chunk come into your
Right.
bank, right? To be able to use for other deals and pay your team and whatnot,
Mhm.
or just have to walk away from it. Right.
Yeah, and
So,
having access to, somebody like you where instantaneously, I know like you're closing deals pretty fast. Like tell me like I see you post and I don't want to step on your story, but like you get calls at pretty much the last minute sometimes.
oh, it happens, especially now with what we were just talking about with they thought that they could just do it the old way. And it's an
Mhm.
oh crap moment where the title company or whoever tells them last minute, like, you can't do that anymore. So I
Yeah.
have people calling me up and be like, I have this closing tomorrow. Are you able to fund? Or I have it 2 days from now. Right.
Mhm.
And as long as we don't have a bunch of deals that we're funding right then and there, we're
Mhm.
able to do it. Like our turnaround time is really, really quick with our
Right.
process and everything. If we do get larger deals from time to time that are over 1 million, some people
Mhm.
do some really big double closings and we need a little
Yeah.
bit more of a heads up for that. But for the most part, within a couple business days heads up, like we can fund it pretty easily.
Nice. Well, let's kind of walk through that process for people because I want to take away the mystique and make it not scary, right? So on the
Mhm.
funding side, if a wholesaler or an investor, they've got a deal and they want you. They're like, "Peter, You're a good-looking guy. You got great hair. I want you to close this deal for me. Let's do some transactional funding. Let's walk
Sure.
through exactly what that process looks like. We're gonna make sure that we've got the links and everything for everybody. But let's go through that kind of step by step.
Yeah. If you compliment my hair, I'll give you like a discount.
Bro,
All
I want that wavy hair. I'm trying to let it get longer. I'm shooting for it.
I'll send you some product. I'll pass that on to you.
Fantastic. I need all the help I can get.
Yeah. So it's my background is wholesaling. When I created this 2 years ago, I was like, let me make this as simple and straightforward as possible. Because when I did double closings before, everyone I worked with had a different process, and they were clinky, and people were bad at communication. You and the businesses that you own and run, communication is like key,
Crucial.
right? Especially with the closing, especially in these tense situations. So my process is go to my website, and we'll have the link there. It's velocityadvantagecapital.com, or the link that you're going to provide. You go on there, and it's a landing page, and in a big blue button it says submit a deal, right? Couldn't be easier. Click on that. You're going to put in a little bit of information, just some background, your contact info, the address, amount that you're going to need, and then your approximate closing date. Submit it, and very quickly you're going to get an intro email from my team that's like, hey, thanks for submitting your request. And then we introduce ourselves to you. And then the next step is we just ask you to introduce us to whoever is handling the closing, right? Like I've seen on your videos, you call it like the closing professional, because in one state it could be a title company, another state it could be an attorney. Everyone says title, so we'll just say title for title's sake, or a closing professional. But it's like, introduce us to who's handling that closing. And most of our communication is going to be back and forth with that closing company, because they're going to let us know, hey, Pete, the deal got delayed. Hey, Pete, the actual closing final amount is this. Rather than us bothering you, the wholesaler, for all this information, we go right to the source. So you just go to our site, submit the request, introduce us to the closing professional. And then from there, we're just going back and forth. On the day of closing, we are the last piece to the puzzle, right? So the way that we fund it is, once all the closing docs are signed, and the closing company will show us, and once your end buyer is fully committed and they put their money in escrow, then we'll wire over that money that you need to close the first transaction. So super straightforward, super simple. Obviously, we'll be in contact throughout then. If you have any questions or anything pops up or anything like that, myself or my team will be in contact with you to make sure we get it figured out, and we'll keep you updated throughout the process. But again, it's same thing every single time. Just go submit the request, introduce us to closing, and then we just kind of take it from there.
So that's it. That's all an investor needs to qualify for transactional funding, right? It's not credit based. It's not experience based. It's not age based, right? It's just based on the deal.
That's it. If the deal gets to the closing line and everything lines up, we will fund it. It doesn't matter if you have an amazing credit score. It doesn't matter if you're making a small profit, a large profit. As a wholesaler, I hope you're knocking it out of the park and making 50K plus, right? But it's not based off any of that. And I think that's what a lot of people get worried about, because they hear anything about funding and they just like, oh no, like I've tried to get hard money. I've tried to get private money before. They want like a DNA sample, all this stuff. Our thing is, no, if you have a deal and it gets to the closing table, like, we will fund it for you.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, we have seen more of our clients shifting away from the burrs and the rehabs and all that stuff, because there's just so much risk in a volatile market, where, we have seen assignments as a percentage of our closings at Easy REI closings actually grow. So I mean, let's build on that a little bit. A lot of, and again, you're talking to so many of these people, so many wholesalers, they think that the double close is risky or it's complicated. So like, when you're having these conversations, what are just some of the misconceptions, like, other than, I don't know, like credit and, percentages down or something crazy like that?
Yeah. I think a big piece is they think that I'm going to take a big chunk out of their deal.
They ask
Right.
us that too, which is I don't know who's doing that. They're like, do you take
Yeah.
15% of the deal? I'm like, I would love 15% of your deal.
Right.
If that's what you're offering, I will close it myself for you.
Right. Exactly. Right. And we'll put you at the top of the list, and you can get 50%
You get
away.
VIP status for that.
Yeah. So I think that's a big piece of it is how much, what are your costs? What are your fees?
Mhm.
What am I going to have to come out of pocket with, that sort of thing? Because again, they're basing it off like a traditional private money loan where
Yeah.
it's based off ARV. They asked me if we're going to we underwrite or does the
Mhm.
deal make sense, that sort of thing. Again, we're just like, no, if it closes, awesome, amazing, we'll be there for it.
Mhm.
So I think a big thing is just the basic questions of what if I'm brand new, right? Like,
Mhm.
what if I've never done a deal?
Right.
We're like, fine, and we'll walk you through it. We'll make sure that you're comfortable with it and know what's happening. And then people that haven't done one in a while, they're like, has anything changed? How's your process a little bit different? So I think a
Mhm.
big part of it is what we were just touching on earlier is just the education piece
Yeah.
inside of it, exactly how the transaction works. And then once we do a deal with you and you see how like simple and straightforward it is, more than 50% of the people that we work with on a monthly basis
Mhm.
are return clients because they're like, whoa, I didn't know it was this straightforward and easy. Now I'm going to do it on all my deals. I
Yeah.
either have to because of legislation, or it's like, why would I use my own capital when this guy's doing it and he's doing it for such like a great fee?
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, and that's we prepared that report, The War on Wholesaling, and we'll drop a link for that here, but yeah, this is happening state after state after state where they're coming in and they're regulating what we're doing as wholesalers, unfortunately, because there are a lot of nitwits out there that are screwing things up for other people. But this is one of the cleanest ways to actually do deals, and probably where we're heading eventually, right? Is you're going to have to old school close on the deal and then go ahead and resell it. So this is the future. Like I do believe that this is where a lot of our industry is heading. Maybe not in all 50 states, but in a number of them.
mhm.
Unfortunately, because people just act like nitwits out there. So, I think this is just absolutely an amazing service. Are there any states where you're finding where this is becoming more prevalent?
Tennessee is one
Yeah.
recently with the pass through that everybody's pushing
Mhm.
back on. South Carolina is a big one.
Yeah.
We get quite a few requests in PA, and I think
Mm,
that's due to some legislation and whatnot.
mhm.
So we do it nationwide, but we see a lot of stuff in the Southeast
Yeah.
and in the Midwest too. Some of the Midwestern states, we
Really?
get quite a few clients reaching out to us.
Mhm.
And I think that is just a matter of deal size and spread, and then also with regulations and everything passed. And some of this stuff hasn't even passed yet, but it's
Yeah.
on its way. And
Mhm.
people are just like, I want to get ahead of it, right? Like, I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to mess with it. Um, so those are the bigger markets. We do stuff out west, not quite as much.
Mhm.
In some of the states too, because I think in some of those states they can still do some pass through funding, and they're like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm going to ride the rails off this until I can't anymore. And again, as another wholesaler too, I'm like, I don't blame you. Do what you got to
Yeah, I
do.
get it.
Right?
Right.
So, but yeah, we in those markets in the
Mhm.
southeast a lot too. We see a lot of people coming on over now that used to just do blind HUD assignments and pass through funding.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. We're seeing, the Southeast is probably where we do the bulk of our transactions, other than Texas. That's one of our, kind of our biggest regions for all of our clients. And yeah, I mean, everything works until it doesn't, right? Like all of it
Right.
works, in your business. So,
Yeah.
Peter, thank you so much, guys. What I love about conversations like this is they really remind us that investors who last, right, and have longevity aren't necessarily the ones who are just finding deals. They're the ones who understand how to structure them, right? And today, Peter broke down one of the most powerful tools that serious investors, right, that you can utilize to get bigger spreads. And, listen, buyers are getting smarter. Title companies, they're asking more questions. And, the answer to that is double closing. So if you're doing those deals, right, with the bigger spreads, or you're running into that assignment pushback from title companies, or even your buyer, right, not wanting to see your assignment fee, you do not want somebody else to take control over that deal, right? So understanding how to use transactional funding and double closings can be a complete game changer. And that's exactly what Peter and his team over at Velocity Capital, that's what they do to help investors and our clients every single day. So if you want to connect with Peter and learn more about transactional funding, or just see how they can help you close your next deal, make sure you reach out directly. We'll drop his contact info here on the screen, and I'll also make sure that it goes in the links below so that you can connect. Peter, Thank you so much, man. I appreciate you coming on and breaking this down for everybody today. And for everybody listening, if you got value from this episode, make sure you subscribe, like, and leave a little review and share this with an investor who needs to hear it and needs to close more deals, because this is the Closers Club where real investors come to learn strategies that the top investors are actually using to grow their business. My name is David Olds, and I will see you at the closing table.